Alright, so the Triglavian invasion into New Eden is complete, Totality has been realized, and the gates to and from the captured systems are now offline. The Mad Lads at CCP actually followed through on this, as was shown in the Eclipse Squadron 2 trailer way back half a year ago. You didn't think they would, but here we are. So, where does this leave us and where do we go from here? Well, as I'm making this video, I personally still have more questions than answers, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it all yet. Over the weeks now that we had Totality, my cautious optimism has been slowly eroding away. But I digress. I parked myself in Raravoss on the last day of Liminality and was able to get some footage of the sun before and after Totality hit. A big shout out to the art and audio team at CCP who worked on this content. The system effects are amazing. Let's take a look at the Raravoss sun side by side from before and after the Totality. I've sped up the time lapse to get a better picture of the whole animation. The magnetic coils are way more pronounced and visible on the surface of the sun now, and the sun itself is giving off these plumes of particles. Very consistent now with how the abyssal space looks. Interestingly, the solar harvesters are still present in the system, so whatever it is they're doing, the process is still ongoing. Sadly, I couldn't stay in Raravoss for long because, well, reasons. And these reasons are, I didn't have a combat ship and I couldn't go anywhere else in this new Triglavian region due to my standings. This is where the excitement I felt for this new content started to be hit with a sobering reality that most of it is standings locked, and I personally won't be able to learn more about it until later. I wish I could explore Pochven in more detail, and I will as soon as I'm able to get my standings up, but there's not much else I can tell you about it from my first hand experience. I also wish I would have been way more proactive and better prepared by taking a few extra ships with me to start operating in Pochven right away. So I left Raravoss the only way I could, that's through Pod Express, but once I was out, I found it very difficult to get back in. There's supposed to be filaments that will transport you in and out of Pochven, but sadly the drop rate for them is extremely low, so they're not available on the market, and if they are available, they are very expensive. I'm talking about 1 billion ISK plus, and only 1 or 2 available on the market in Jita right now. So the only way to get to Pochven right now is through wormholes. In the first few days that I was spending in Raravoss, it was actually a very friendly place. There's a cool group of players that runs out of it, multiple different corporations, and if you want more information about them, check out their in-game channel called Raravoss Proving Grounds, and they have a Discord as well that I linked in the description down below. So as fun and exciting the Triglavian invasion was, especially on the Kybernaut side in my opinion, the end result left a lot to be desired. I'm hoping we'll have some updates in the near future, but as the weeks pass by, I'm becoming more worried that this might turn into Resource Wars 2.0. Currently, the whole end game of the Triglavian invasion seems to be half-baked, and not the good kind. The broader community reaction was also quite negative, and not just because of the GTOMR pipeline was severed. That was actually one of the highlights of the invasion, from realizing that Nearge is a candidate at the start of it all, and brawling it out against EdenCon for days. That was a great battle. And as frustrating as this experience is for the Kybernauts right now, it is so much worse for EdenCon supporters that were totally shafted. At least Kybernauts got a new region that you can't do much in except die to roaming gangs of overpowered NPCs. EdenCon just got some cosmetic items in at the end of it all, and I guess the privilege of being almost completely locked out of the new region. And here's where the issue of standings comes about. I mean, the issue and the greater debate about locking the access to systems through standings aside, there's just no viable way to grind standings at this point in time. Although I haven't seen that content personally yet, the new rogue drone rats that are inside of Pochven are supposed to give standings, but those standings increases are so small that it'll take weeks of non-stop grinding to get access to half of the systems. The systems are divided by 1.0, 3.0 and 7.0 standings, I believe. And I'm personally sitting at 1.8 right now, and just getting to the 3.0 mark seems like a daunting task. EdenCon supporters start with negative standings, can't use any gates or station services, and have to evade hostile Triglavian rats on top of hostile drifter rats. And as you can imagine, EdenCon morale is quite abysmal at this point, especially after repeated marketing materials from CCP urging Capsuleers to join up with EdenCon. All in all, from my limited exploration of Pochven, it seems like a good starting infrastructure for some awesome new EVE content, but it's so incomplete at this point and frustrating to use. I'm hopeful that it'll all come together soon. I mean, the Trig NPC stations should have Triglavian missions agents, the inbound and outbound filaments should have a better drop rate, and there should be more combat sites within Pochven and an easier way to get the standings up to reduce the barrier of entry. The list can go on and on, of course, and the possibilities are literally endless to make this a vibrant and unique space in EVE. But what worries me is that CCP seems to have drastically shifted gears right now and consider the invasion done and complete. We may not see any updates to the Triglavian space anytime soon, and worst case scenario here is this becomes dead content like Resource Wars. And the whole rationale of, well, nobody's using this incomplete content, so there's no sense in spending dev time on it, will certainly kick in at that point. I guess time will tell. What do you think about the Triglavian Invasion and how it ended? For my part, it was definitely unique and very, very fun content while it lasted, but the end result right now is just a mess. I'll stick around to exploring it further for now, just have to find a way to get some standings first. Thanks so much for watching, say hi if you bump into me somewhere in Pochven.